Welcome back to Paranormal Unveiling, where you can get your weekly fix for your paranormal addiction. I'm your host, psychic medium and paranormal investigator, Josh. Now sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy the show. And if you enjoy the music for today's intro, it's a little something I created. I call it Fade. Recording. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Paranormal Unveiling, where you can get your weekly fix for your paranormal addiction. Today, we have somebody who is a very good friend of mine, who has not only helped me in my journey as in the mediumship side, but is a paranormal investigator. I can't say enough good stuff about Saraa with Keeping Up with Spirits. How you doing, Saraa?
I'm great. How are you, Josh?
I'm doing fine. I'm happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad that you accepted the invite. Um, you hold kind of a special place for me, because of some of the things that you do with your stuff. But before we get into that, just so people can find you, so they can find these things, how can we get hold of you on social media? Tell me what you got going.
Yeah, for sure. So I am on Facebook. A lot of people aren't too familiar with Facebook or are familiar with Facebook, but I like Facebook. So I do have a
Mhm.
group called Keeping Up with Spirits. I have a private group I'd rather people join, as you'll see it there, or you can add me to Facebook under Saraa Sophia, and I'll be there as well. I also just started a YouTube channel
Awesome.
that I want to grow, and I'm doing seasons on there and episodes of my paranormal investigations,
Awesome.
and that's under Keeping Up with Spirits as well. And of course, I'm on TikTok.
Okay, Keeping Up with Spirits on TikTok. Now, is it KUWS on TikTok, or is it the whole name of
I
the
think
place?
so. Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Okay, because every time I see you come across, it's KUWS. Uh,
That's the short form. So if you can't find Keeping Up with Spirits, then that would be it. Yes.
right, yeah. So Instagram or anything like that?
I do have Instagram, but I'm not on it as much as I would like
Right.
to. I'm
Okay.
not an Instagram kind of girl, like pretty old school. I'm like back to the Facebook, and
Right.
um I find TikTok is challenging and hard as well because I don't do lives on TikTok, and I find that's probably why my following isn't so big, and I'm okay with that because it's
Right.
not all the follows or the likes for me. It's just showing that this stuff really does exist, and showing Canada or Ontario, where I'm from, that this stuff is present in the moment because we don't have a lot of that in
Right.
Canada. So I'm probably like one out of five in Canada that I do know of.
Right.
So yeah, the paranormal, there's a lot of hauntings and great places to investigate in Canada. Um, but I'm not 100% familiar with all of it because it is a very big country. Um, and Ontario is very closed off and locked down when it comes to government and certain things. So that's why I would love to come to the States and do some awesome investigations and
Right.
kind of do what Destination Fear does, but
All around. Yeah.
unfortunately, I can only do so much here, but
Right.
that's where my mediumship uh, comes into play,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of bringing in the paranormal a little bit. And it really excites people because here in Ontario or Canada or wherever people are from in Canada, aren't 100% familiar with it, or they're just too spooked out about it.
Right. It seems like there's just not as many investigation teams in I know there are some, but it's not as prolific as like
Yeah.
America, UK, that sort of thing. Um,
Yeah, you'll find more books on hauntings or locations
right.
than you will seeing an investigator. So
Nice.
I only know a couple close to where I am, and we really push each other forward, and
Right.
help each other out along the way. But yeah, it's
Right.
interesting.
Yeah. So one of the things I want to get into, and I want to ask you if you're going to continue to do this, is kind of how we met previous to this, and then you invited me to be a part of. I'm not even exactly sure what to call it. It's just, it's it's a chance to grow new mediums, like
Hmm.
I call them baby mediums. Um,
Yes.
but you have this kind of, it's almost like a training course where you allow people who believe that they have the ability
Yeah.
to read people to have a chance to actually jump right in the fire and see if they can read people.
Yeah.
And I know that you and I got together. I was a little further along in my path when we came together, but you invited me to one of those, and I had a blast. And then you kept inviting me, and it was so, it got to the point where I would just wanted to come to see the mediums. I didn't want to get read. I didn't want to read. I just wanted to see what the people you're going to have do. Can you tell me, like, are you going to continue doing that, or do you have any plans of doing more of those?
Yeah, so normally the month of November, I think I'm going on my third year of doing it. So as you know, I have a Facebook group called Spiritual Growth, and it's
Mhm.
doing absolutely great. So we talk about angels, connecting with your angels, your light beings, understanding ascendant masters, angelic beings, you know, all whatever people pray to or believe in.
Mhm.
So it's understanding the universe and your abilities. So what it is called, as you know, is give and receive a reading.
Right.
So it's free because I don't feel the need to charge somebody $250 to $300 to express their ability. I want to see
Right.
people open up and channel and
Right.
see them light up and go, oh my God, I did it. So,
Right.
myself and my Aunt Darlene, as you know her, she's an admin that
Love her.
helps me on the
Love
page.
Darlene.
Yes, she's great. She's also a psychic medium.
Right.
So, I had opened up spiritual growth. I feel like it's been 6 years now. And that was me coming out to my friends and family of being a medium, because my grandmother, being a Catholic woman, always told me to keep it hush hush because we don't believe and we can't be doing this stuff. She knew
Right.
this as I was a little girl, and she spoke the language tongue. So she used to put her hand over my head and speak this language. And I don't think she realized that she was a medium as well, because the things that she would be like, well, the Lord told me this. And I'm like, I think she doesn't realize she's not talking to the Lord. She's probably talking to her guides.
Right.
And she would channel not knowing it. So I opened this page up, and I was very nervous, very emotional. I was afraid. And coming out to be, you know, who I am. And of course, I have family members that don't even talk to me. I have lost friends. But it was very hard because I always grew up, being bullied or challenged with my life lessons, worried about what other people thought, always pleasing, or, you know, wanting to be accepted
Mhm.
has been the biggest challenge in my life.
Right.
So opening that has been incredible and took baby steps, and it's really helped me challenge myself. So with give and receive a reading, I thought, you know what? Like, I don't want this to be all about me. I
Right.
want people to come on and express themselves too, so others can see that this is a real thing.
Right.
So, yeah, so I remember watching you on TikTok all the time. And I was like, oh, Josh is on, got my cup of coffee. I'm just going to see what Josh is up to today. And you started doing readings and talking about mediumship. And I thought, my gosh, it's so cool that there's a male that's into this stuff,
Right.
because you don't see that very often. And I felt very drawn to you, where I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I know him like from another life.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew with give and receive a reading, you were one of our first people to come on.
Right.
And you did incredible. And it was showing other men and women that it's for everybody. And
Right.
it's just been great.
And something, there are males in the
Of
mediumship
course.
kind of
Yep.
realm. You just typically see it more with females. Uh,
Mhm.
and that's something I'm very passionate about too, which you've also helped me with, connecting with people, is showing them that, look, I'm a man's man too. Like, I
Yeah.
can build you a house, I can work on your car, I can do all that manly stuff that people think is manly, but I can
Yeah.
also touch my inner
Relate.
feelings and connect with things that are not necessarily
The,
what men are known for, typically.
that's right.
So
That's right.
it was a really big deal to me when you asked me to be on the give and receive. And in fact, that very first one, Mr. Matt, I know you remember
Our
him.
lovely friends. Yes.
Beautiful soul. Had a very good connection with him, and he is one of the very few readings that I've done that I remember. Like, you have those ones that are just
Of
really
course.
just kind of stay
Yeah.
with you. For the most part, you could ask me next week what I'd said in your reading today, and
Yep.
that information's not necessarily for me, so I don't remember it all. But there are those ones that you do remember. So let me ask you, do you have, I know you do, but can you tell us a little bit about maybe some of those readings that you've done that have stuck with you?
Oh, that's such a good question. Okay, let me think about this one. There are so many. There was one I did about a year ago. One of my sister's coworkers came over to her house. I've never met her before, didn't know what she looked like,
Mm-hmm.
and asked for a reading. And I remember sitting with her, and I brought in her grandmother, and I said, your grandmother keeps talking about this perfume bottle, and I described what it looked
Mm-hmm.
like from the very knob to the bottom where it was.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure if it was at her grandmother's house or at her house. I'm pretty sure it was a Chanel perfume bottle, and it had like a clear top, had a gold ring, went down. I said it's very, very small, but she's talking about this. And I said it's in her closet at the back. So go home and check that out.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, she did. And there it was. She sent a picture. She goes, exactly where you said it was.
Wow.
That was really cool. It gave me chills for sure. Um, there are so many that I can't think off the hop.
Right. I've got half a dozen
I
that
know,
really
I'm
stick
so,
with you, and it's hard to prioritize one over the other.
yeah, if something pops up, then I'll go, oh, I got one. But
Okay.
yeah, I've probably done over 200 readings where I either forget them, or I
Right.
have my favorites, but
Right. And that's just how it is, because the message isn't for us. We're just the
yeah.
conduit to where the message needs to go. So we don't necessarily need to. That's why I like when people record our, a session or something like that. Um,
You know, I I'm a very with my mediumship, I'm an automatic writer. So
so that
a
was my
lot of
next question. Like, how do
yeah,
your gifts present? Are you clairvoyant, claircognizant?
So I can hear spirits.
Okay.
I can hear like vocally, like I can hear the sound of their tone, their voice to the point it'll startle me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always, it's certain spirits that'll come to me. I
Okay.
get images, a lot of different images. Actually, there is one. I remember the day I went to my first psychic fair about 4 years ago, and I
Mm-hmm.
bought my first selenite sphere.
Okay.
And I was in love with this. So I bought it and I brought it home and I thought, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to make a connection with this crystal and get my pen and paper out. And I remember my mother-in-law said, "Hey, my friend would like a reading from you. Can she message you?" And I'm like, "You know what? I'm doing some practice right now. Let me see what I'm picking up. Give me her name, but don't tell me anything." She's like, "Perfect." So I'm channeling by holding this crystal. My mind is quiet, no music, nothing. And I picked up all 5 names of her brothers that have passed and wrote
Wow.
them all down one by one. And I didn't realize that I wrote down from oldest to youngest in perfect form.
Awesome. That's
And
awesome.
so when she messaged me that night, she goes, "Hey, did you pick up anything? You know, I'm so and so." I said, "Yeah." And then I had it all written down and I said, these are the names. And she's like, "Oh my God, you're kidding me." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "That's all my brother's names."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Oh, no way." And then I'm like, this is what they're showing me. They're showing me Toronto, a black and white photo. She goes, "That was our hometown. That's exactly what you're describing." And so that was probably one of my favorite ones because that was my first automatic writing that I practiced.
Wow.
And it was like with my mediumship, all mediums are different. We all connect, challenge each
Absolutely.
other differently. Me, I put the pen and paper and I allow spirit to basically tell me what I have to write down. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm a visual learner, so I have to visualize. So that was probably my favorite. But with mediumship, that's pen and paper are my go-to. Kind of like a
Sure.
Tyler Henry, where I either
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
scribble or I write.
Right.
And that's me forming a meditation
Right.
where I have to go. So I connect from the left side of my brain. When I connect, I have to go to the left side. And I pictured this cloud, and then I pictured this little walkway, and I have this garden set up. So every time I meditate or I'm going into mediumship, I instantly go there. And it's funny enough, my main guide, he's a monk. I meet up with him, and he'll
Okay.
put his forehead on my forehead, and I feel this warmth, and I see this beam of light. And it's almost like I feel like he's giving me this superpower.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay. And then I start seeing different things. I'll see their loved ones doing different things in this garden. And then everything just starts picturing and picking up, and then names and you name it. So it's like I go to where I feel sacred.
Mm-hmm.
And if my left side of the brain is too loud, and I can't do a reading or I'm not channeling, I'm just completely honest as a medium where there's nothing coming through or my
Right.
mind is too bottled up.
Right. Right. You know what's funny is for me, I hear audibly. Um
Mhm.
Usually it's in my voice, but their words.
Okay,
Sounds like my tone, but I hear it with my right ear, but
nice.
I see images with my left eye. Like it's almost like a
Yes,
memory, but it's behind my left eye. And sometimes those
exactly.
images get so strong that it affects my physical vision, and I can see it with both my eyes, like I'm in the moment. But
Yeah,
it's always like the major information comes through on my left side.
you're like a Raven Simone here. You're like visions coming through.
Right. I've had some that are so strong. I was driving down the road one day, and I drive a hotshot truck, so I weigh like 30,000 pounds. I've got a bigger truck, with a trailer.
Yes.
And I had images coming through so strongly that I couldn't make out the road. I had to physically pull my truck over so I didn't crash because it was just coming so strongly that it was affecting
Wow.
my physical vision. Which is it's kind of crazy that way, but we're all so different. So I always have to ask another medium, like, how does your
I love that.
present?
And as you do that, it's practice and you will find it'll get stronger. And that is just a start of it really getting strong. And with mediumship, it changes. It's like raising a child or a puppy. There's stages. And
Mm-hmm.
I always say, like, yeah, I've been doing this since I was a child, not knowing it, and then
Right.
growing up and then going through it, but I'm still a practicing medium because I'm not a full-blown Teresa Caputo or Tyler Henry or Matt Frazier. I like to say that, you know what? It's not always going to be right. There's going to be times that, you know, we get things right or wrong, and it's just a part of practice. And, a lot of people go to a medium thinking like, oh, like everything's going to happen. It's boom, boom, boom. But sometimes too, as mediums, the message might not be for them. It might be for somebody else. So
Mm-hmm.
it's, there's a lot going into mediumship and having to help the sitter understand as well. So,
I find
yeah,
it hard to um kind of convey sometimes. You get symbolism sometimes, like I'll get an
yeah,
image that I understand, but how do I translate that into an experience that they would know? And so,
yeah,
like one time I was giving a reading, and I've done a couple hundred readings. I mean, you've seen me do them live and stuff. I don't do that anymore for a very specific reason, but sometimes I would get these things come through like a fan spinning.
right.
And when I was looking at it, it was like almost dizzying watching the fan blades go around. But to translate into what their loved one was trying to tell me sometimes can be confusing. And I've
Yes.
since figured out that that means dizzy because I was kind of feeling dizzy looking at that, and that they may have been, had something to do with, like dementia, not knowing, dizzy, unstable, equilibrium problems, stuff like that. Sometimes the symbolism that we receive that we understand is hard to translate to a sitter. Do you have that
It
same
really
problem
is.
sometimes?
Yeah, I call it another sign language, a spirit sign language and
Right,
a spirit dictionary. And then sometimes there's spirit vomit where you just can't stop, you just keep on going.
right,
So,
right.
yeah, and that's the thing too, is every reading that I do, every symbol is different. It's like learning, like I said, a new sign language and
Yeah,
understanding those things. So,
what they correlate to.
yeah. So sometimes I just say, just help me understand by showing me and helping me feel. So, before I went to do an investigation at a haunted library, the first time I went, and I've been there a couple times, um, I was feeling very, very sick.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I'm like, okay, like, am I feeling spirit here or am I feeling sick? So I was like, help me understand. Like, if this is spirit, you need to start showing me. And then I started feeling pain. I started feeling weakness, short of breath. And I'm like, oh boy. And then all of a sudden, I had this vision of this woman that I was going to be meeting up with. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay. So drank some water, had some ginger root and tea. I'm like, okay, still feeling this way, but I have an appetite. So we're good. I go there, and half hour in, I see this woman that I had a visualization of, and
Mm-hmm.
she worked at the library, and she was
Oh,
putting on her
wow.
coat, and I walked up to her and I said, "Listen, like I don't know if you know what I do," and I explained, and I said, "Are you okay to have a reading real quick?" And she's like, "Sure, yeah, that would be great." I kind of explained what I was feeling, and it was cancer, and I can't go too much into detail.
Right, right,
For her own privacy reasons.
right.
But I was picking up and channeling her
What she was,
and
yeah.
her loved ones on the other side. And then I was kind of explaining, like, Um, there's family on the other side that's telling me they didn't really know you and you have one child. So she kind of explained all of that. And then all of a sudden, I felt better. I was like, oh my God, I feel so much better.
Once you
Okay.
got the message out there, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember just going, yeah, it's like I feel better now. That was so profound.
Hmm.
So I find up to a week or that day, spirit will show me how they passed. And I'll start to feel sick. So back, in November, my sister invited her entire work over to her house for a paranormal night. And
Okay.
they're all so excited. Well, an hour before people are showing up, I'm sitting crouched down on her chair and I'm like, oh my God, like I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Oh, I can't breathe. I said, like, I'm having I forget what it was, like something I never even would mention. I can't even remember what it was, the pain I was feeling. And she's like, do you think, we should stop? I'm like, no, this is spirit. This is spirit because I don't have this issue, like
Right.
at all. First person that walks in the door, it was her dad in spirit.
Really?
And she was the most skeptic coming into this. So
Wow.
it was incredible. And after I did my quick reading with her, the pain went away.
Right.
Well, then I'm feeling another pain coming on, and I'm seeing a truck driver. I
Mhm.
see a truck driver. I see an accident. He's showing me how he felt. He's showing me he was young. And the other lady that night turned out it was her dad. And my sister goes, the fact that you made her cry out of all of them is shocking all of us.
Right.
So she did the most healing that night. And the pain went away. And then more validation. And this was my first group reading in person alone. I couldn't believe how much spirit I channeled that night.
Right.
It was
When you're
just
when you're on
incredible.
fire, it just keeps coming. It's like
Oh my God.
energizing sometimes to where afterwards you can't sleep for hours.
Well, I said to my sister, I don't know why we didn't film this. This would have been a great episode.
Right. Right. I know I've had early on in my growth, I was very empathic where
Yeah.
I would pick up on emotion, like physical feelings and stuff like that. Um, Nowadays, when it happens, like it's almost like it starts to come on, so I understand what it is, but then it stops.
Yeah.
So I don't have to continue that until I get that message out. I can recognize what that feeling is, what that emotion is, without internalizing it and feeling it myself. That way I can convey that feeling or emotion without actually feeling that feeling or emotion. It's kind of weird how it's all starts out. I know I had experiences since I was a kid, and I just kind of racked it up to it's just everybody can do this until I figured out not everybody does this. What was it as a kid, as you mentioned before? What kind of experiences were you having that maybe were instinctual for you,
Yeah.
mediumship wise?
Well, when I was about 2 years old, and I have a really good memory, I can go back two, three, four, five, six,
Oh
seven,
wow.
8, 9, 10. And I mean, my memory is so good. I swear I probably remember being in spirit at times, like
Right.
the visions I get or the deja vu. So I remember being about 2 or 3 years old. We lived in this nice big yellow home, and it was very old. And I remember, when my parents put me to bed, I was scared of the dark, absolutely terrified. And I would scream, I would cry, like, no, mommy, don't shut the door. Don't, no, 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 he's gonna come back. And they would just look at me like, who? I said, the man with the hat. The man with the hat. He's gonna come back, mom. And they had no idea what I was talking about, but my Aunt Dar did as I was a child. So I said, he's gonna come back. And I remember he did. And I'd be laying in bed, and this shadow figure would show up, man in the hat. And we
Mhm.
hear a lot of this now today. Even my
Yeah.
child has seen the man in that. And,
Right.
you look back and you think like, oh yeah, whatever, right? But to experience it, I can say I understand it. So I remember I'd always hide and tell him to go away. And he wouldn't, or he'd be on the stairwell or in the doorway. And I would go and run into my parents' room when they were sleeping. And I remember just laying there in the center of them looking up, and I could see spirit. I could see things that were invisible but looked so real. And there was this one time that I seen all these animals. It was like watching a jungle, and the image will never leave me, and I can't understand why, but I'd see elephants, I'd see giraffes, I would see all these animals in spirit. And I'd explain this to my parents for the longest time, and they didn't understand. Um, and it would get stronger as I got older. And I'd
Mhm.
say, hey, like, what is that man doing over there? My mom would be like, I don't know what you're talking about. There is no man over there. So it was stronger that way when I was a child. And I think it's because when we're children, we're in and out of spirit realm
Right.
because we're going there to um, understand more about Earth, understanding more different things
Right. Raw
that
and
we bring
experience.
back. Yeah. So I kind of remember I felt like a pull, like of in and out, feeling different. Um, Middle school was very challenging and hard for me
Mhm.
because I could feel people's loved ones around me or hear voices, and I thought it was completely normal, and it wasn't.
Right.
And
Right.
I would call home sick a lot. And in high school, it got really challenging, and I had a hard time making friends. I was
Right.
extremely bullied by girls and, calling me weird or making me feel ashamed of myself at times. I was very quiet. I had my best friend, but I was very quiet, and I struggled from mental health because of it. And um, growing up in a Catholic family, it was very hard to, talk about it.
Yeah.
But I had my parents, and they did start understanding more. So then we moved to a different house when I was 6, and I started seeing an angel. And I
Mhm.
remember I seen it twice, and I didn't even understand what an angel was at the
Right.
time. And the images are still there, like I still have them. So I just kind of like grew up knowing angelic beings,
Right.
seeing white light beings around me. And
Mhm.
it's almost as though I felt like maybe that's what I was in my past life. Like, I don't know. Like, am I here
Right.
to learn something? Because seeing all these angelic things. But it did get stronger after I had kids.
I've heard that from several women that once they had children, it's almost like the children boosted it.
Yeah.
Like that hormone shift makes it even that much stronger. When I was a kid, I never talked about it. I
Yeah.
didn't have bad experiences. I In the house I grew up in, we lived there until I moved out as an adult. Um, but there was always a man around, and I knew that that man was around, but I didn't tell
Yeah.
my parents. I remember as a kid a lot of my abilities being more psychic, like I could read living people more than I saw the
Right.
dead. um
Yeah.
it wasn't until later in life where I started opening that door, and it kind of got kicked in on me, and it came in really fast and hard. But when I was a kid, it was more psychic ability than it was mediumship, really. But I had both kind of those experience. But I hear a lot of people that have childhood experiences are having a lot of the mediumship, and I was opposite of that. It was some mediumship, but mostly psychic abilities. Like I knew when something was going to happen. I would hear people speak before they actually open their mouth and talk. uh,
Yeah.
I just had a sixth sense
Or
about
when
what
the
was going to
phone was gonna
happen.
ring.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's not take that road. Let's take this road, and then find out there was an accident on that road. I mean, that happened to me a lot. Or
You
people
know,
even comment, how the hell did you know that was going to happen?
I know, right?
I just knew.
It's funny too because um my mom loves this one. Oh, so when I was about a year and a half, my parents were taking a drive and we passed a cemetery and I pointed in the cemetery and I said, "Look at the angels.
Yeah.
Look, the angels." And my parents' faces, they looked at each other and she said the way we looked at each other was like, how the heck does she know about angels?
Yeah.
She has no idea. She's a year and a half.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, I have been connecting with these angels my entire life. And I'm
Right.
okay not to connect with earthbound or other spirits. My purpose in spirit communication is to connect with the spirit realm and to understand the spirit realm and to understand why we're here and what our jobs are. I like to connect with the light beings. That is my main go-to as a
Right.
paranormal investigator. Paranormal investigator to me is not all about, you know, um, connecting with the earthbounds and what their story is and what it's all about. It's, do you need help to the light? Can I ask an angel
Right.
here? Can
I was
I
just
ask
going
my
to say that.
guide? Yeah, and it's I feel like I'm supposed to be here to give back. And I have always said this since I was a kid, I don't want to come back here. I'm homesick. I get very homesick. Even as a mom today, I get very homesick where I'll curl up on a ball in my bed and sometimes I'll just cry and feel I'm homesick. Like I'm very
Right.
homesick.
No, I
And
I
yeah,
understand that feeling because ever since I was about 7, I knew that this was my last lifetime.
yeah,
That I was here to learn a little bit more, and I was at the end. Once I've got through that, I'm just kind of
yeah,
here in life until it's over, and then I can move on, and I don't come back. Like I've always
yeah,
felt that since I was a kid, so I completely understand. It's almost, I know growing up, I never felt like I was home.
yeah,
Like we traveled a lot as a family, and I was always searching for where home would be. I
yeah,
never felt like where I lived was home,
yeah,
until I kind of figured out that everywhere is home because I can reach out to everywhere. And as soon as this life's done, I'll go where I'm supposed to be and do what I'm supposed to do, which is not be here anymore.
It's funny, Josh. So I'm doing my first hypnosis the end of this month
Oh,
for
really?
past life regression. And then I'm going to be doing a live on spiritual growth
Mm-hmm.
with her, and she's going to be giving all my members a discount.
Oh, okay.
And she does Zoom. And I said to her, when I do this, I'm going to record it, videotape it, and I don't care to go back into all my past lives. I want to know how before I came here, what spirit world was like. And I want to know what my subconscious has to say
Right.
and go into my higher self and to understand what my purpose is now here because um, I want to know why in this lifetime I'm doing the stuff that I'm doing. I had so many challenges in this lifetime, like I said, with having acceptance and wanting to be loved and believed in. And, I felt
Right.
like I gave that to so many people that why can't I get that back when I
Right.
when I need that? Because I'm such a nice person.
Absolutely.
So I'm just so excited to see like I want to go into the realm. Dolores Cannon talks about the library. She talks about all these amazing, incredible places. I want to take adventures. I want to know what these things are like.
Right.
So I have new things coming up down the road that maybe that's something I really want to learn and take a course on is being a hypnosis
Oh,
as
really?
well. Yeah.
Wow. That would be awesome. That would be absolutely awesome. I
I
think you'd be
want
great at it.
answers. Yeah, I want answers. I want to go into star seeds. I want to understand other planets. I want to
Right.
understand. I'm right into UFO. Like I don't even talk about that, but I'm like they're coming. Like things are happening.
Right.
The veil is getting thin. And then I get more excited doing spirit work because I'm like, I don't even care what people have to say anymore. You think I'm weird? Great. Like, you have no idea what's coming.
Right.
You're gonna
Right.
thank me one day for being weird.
Right. I had a friend in high school that, I've kept up with her since high school, and I never put it out there,
Yeah.
the things that I could do, until recently. A couple of years ago, when I kind of said, okay, well, everybody says I'm a medium, so maybe I am, and I kind of put it out there that, hey, I think I might be a medium. I don't really like that term, but
You
I
could
think
say
I'm
you're a
just,
messenger.
well,
I'm a
yeah,
messenger.
that's medium just never feels right.
That's like me with psychic. I don't like the word psychic. I think because there's been so many scammers out there that they made
Right,
us look bad.
right, absolutely. But I just never felt right with any real labels, but that's what everybody knows it as,
Yeah,
so you kind
of
of go
course.
with it. But
Yeah,
when I put it
yeah.
out there, she was like, I didn't know you were a medium. I mean, she's known me 20 something years. I didn't know you were a medium. Well, yeah, I didn't really talk about it, but you ever remember me just kind of standing there staring off into space? That's what was happening. And she goes, that makes a lot of sense now. Like, I understand
20
what was
years
going on.
ago, we'd be in the psych ward if we talked
Right,
about this.
right. There was a time where I told my wife, I said, I don't know. It wasn't until my 40s where I really
Yeah,
wanted to delve into my mediumship abilities and connect with that. Once I did, and that door flew open, I
yeah.
got flooded with so much, that
Because you accepted it.
I thought I was going crazy. I even told my wife, I don't I think I'm going crazy. This can't be possible. This can't be real. And she told me, she said, what did you expect was going to happen when you opened that door? Honey, I love you and all, but what did you think was going to happen? Well, I didn't know it was going to be this.
You
This can't be
know,
real. I felt crazy.
I can definitely tell you how it really opened up for me, like huge. And I'm not even sure if you've ever heard me ever talk about this story, but I'll just say it again for anybody who is watching because this is one of my absolute favorite things I will take to the grave. So, a few years ago, I was struggling with mental health and I wasn't doing very good,
Mhm.
just life being busy and um just really depressed and really, really down. And I remember, just praying and I prayed to my angels, my guides, and I just said to them, like, listen, I'm asking you to show me 100%. Like, I need you to show me 100%. I'm asking, like, I'm going through this, I'm going through that. I'm opening my abilities. Like, I'm doing this and doing that.
Mhm.
And this is when, my grandmother, we were just about to say goodbye to her, and she had Lewy body dementia. And, my grandfather just had a massive heart attack and completely lived through that one,
Yeah.
which was a miracle. And I just said, like, if prayer is so powerful, show me. Show me. And I'm talking like, show me. I want to see 100%. So a couple days later, a friend and I went to work and we're down in the boonies and on a back road cleaning one house on this long dirt road. We
Mhm.
finished cleaning up and we pack up. We're pulling out of the driveway and there's this elderly man standing there. And he waves and knocks on the window and he goes, can you roll down your window? So I rolled down the window and I said, hi, sir, is there anything I can help you with? And he goes, yeah, there is actually. Do you know what's in my hands? And his hands were behind his back. And I said, I'm picturing 100, like I'm literally seeing 100. Don't know why. And he goes, well, how the hell did you know that? And my friend goes, oh, she's psychic. She does this all the time. He pulls a piece of paper from behind his back in red pen and it said 100% on it. He said, you asked for it.
Wow.
You were asked to be shown 100%, and I want you to know that you deserve 100%. So this is for you. Well, I went speechless and I said, thank you. I appreciate that. And I knew exactly what that was.
Hmm.
And he said, have a great day. So I rolled up the window and we turned down the road. Look back, this man's gone. Okay, weird. She
Yeah,
goes, what was
it
that all
is.
about? And I said, I don't think you understand. She's like, what? I said the other day, I asked if prayer is so powerful, show me 100%, but I want you to show me. And I explained the prayer. Well, she just flooded in tears, just cried the whole way home. I said, I don't know if that was a guide or if that was an angel, but they just showed me 100% of what I asked
Right,
for. And I'm telling you, I went home and called my mom, I called my dad, and I'm like, angels are freaking real. Like
right,
they are so real. And I'm telling you, ever since then, that's when I got the portal. That's when I built my portal. That's when I started doing more spirit communication. And it wasn't to connect with spirit, it was to connect with the angels and the guides. That's
right.
what I'm drawn to do. And that's exactly what I did. And then my main guide, he told me his name was Paul. And he said, wasn't that beautiful? And I said, it was. And then he just kept reminding me to have mercy. So I'm telling you,
Can
that
I
one I'll take forever.
can I tell you something?
Yeah.
So when we first met, and we did our kind of our first Zoom and where we were face to face talking and whatnot, I didn't know your experiences coming up, right? But I always felt like when you or are together, that I felt like you went through darkness so you could understand the light,
Yeah.
but your vibration is so high, that's where you belong. Like that's your niche, so to say, so to
Yeah.
speak. But I always felt like there was something about you that was troubled,
Mhm.
because as we see you now, you're always so smiley and bubbly and loving and
Absolutely.
kind.
Yes.
But I always felt that you went through some stuff before you
Oh,
got
hell yeah.
here. And
Sure
that's
did.
what I got when we first met. Now I wasn't reading you, so I didn't say anything because I've always been told that if they didn't ask, then
Yeah.
maybe not tell. But that's one of the things that I always felt like behind that smile was some darker, more troubling things,
Challenge. Oh,
some
yeah.
challenges. And I think that's what
Absolutely.
brought you to be able to understand that and overcome it,
Yeah.
allows your vibration to go so high to connect with what people consider angelic beings. Um,
Yeah.
one thing I want to ask you this, and I don't want to get into religion or anything so
No,
much,
that's fine.
but it kind of deals with that. You and I have a different, like you're a very religious person. Um,
Yep.
I'm not a religious person, but we do a lot of the same things and we have a lot of the same beliefs. Let me ask you, do you think that what you do, as far as how you describe with religion and how I describe without that religion, something different? Do you think we're doing the same thing, just calling it something different, and that kind of is where people butt heads on a lot of this stuff?
I definitely do. I do feel like we're doing the same thing. I feel as though, for anybody watching who's religious, know that I am a Catholic. Study the Bible, went to Catholic school, everything, but I call myself spiritual. I feel as though the Bible, there was a lot that was not true, more written. It's hard to understand. And I think, watching and listening to Dolores Cannon really helped me understand a lot of that as well. I think it's great if you're religious and, I do believe in Jesus. I do believe that God is not man. He is source. He is light. He is of the
Mhm.
universe. We all pray to our own type of God, whatever that may be. But I feel it is all the same thing. I have family who are Christians and then family who are Catholic. The Christian side is more the spiritual side, But what I do is a big no-no regardless. And
Right.
I still, on social media, I get so judged by religious people where it's like, grow up, you're talking to demons. Oh, grow up, you're going to go to hell.
Right.
Let me tell you something. There is no hell. Man made that up. There is no fire under the ground. No, earth is hell. We are living hell. You can cross the street and you can die. You can get into a car accident. You can die. It is hell. We have challenges. We fight. We argue. There's people who are, going through worse things than we could ever imagine. It is hell. Um, but we chose these challenges and lessons before we came here. It was mapped out by
Our
blueprint.
Akashic, yeah.
Yeah, and we chose our parents, we chose our children, our children chose us, we chose to switch roles. When
Mhm.
we die, we look back and go, well, that was just a play. That was just me being that person in my own play. And
Right.
that went by so fast. I believe that we can create our own reality. We can have whatever we want. We create our thought process. We can create our day. We can create our path. We can create whoever we want to be with. Do you want to be with the person who's going to treat you like crap all your life? Well, or the one who's going to treat you great all your life? You have the option to choose the path that you want to take. Do you want to have that best friend who's going to judge you, or the friend who's going to make you feel like keep going? You have the choice. And I feel like people make the choices for us, even with religion.
Mhm.
It's, you know, growing up in a religion background, I felt like I wasn't allowed to have a choice or to feel or to even own a crystal. If I owned a crystal, then I'm doing something crazy. I worked at a school and one of the staff said, like, you're going to be hung at the stake because you own crystals. You're opening portals. I'm like, you do not want to take a walk in my house then.
Right.
But I said, we're just as no different than crystals.
You know what's funny is they actually mention crystals in the Bible.
Yeah.
The 12
They mention a
apostles,
lot of things
the
in the
12
Bible.
apostles all had their own stones, which are
That's
crystals stones, right? So that's what I wanted to ask you, because I knew you were a Catholic, and I
yeah.
think we've talked about it a time or two, but I just wanted to get your opinion, because I think some people call it prayer, some people call it manifestation, some people call it spirituality, some people call it Christianity. I think we're all doing the same thing. We just call it
It's
something
yeah,
different
that's
without
all it is.
understanding each other. Which is one
That's all
reason
it
why I connected with you, is because you don't take the. I grew up Baptist. That was what my
Yep.
family was. I grew up going to a Baptist church. I studied theology. I still study theology, even though I don't believe. I try to understand. Um,
Yeah.
but I think you and I connect so well because we understand that even in the realm of religion, we're you and I, even though we don't have the same necessary belief or practice system, we're you and I do the same thing.
Yeah. And we're
And we
healers.
understand that. And we can come together, me being pagan, you being
Yeah,
Catholic, we can still come together and understand each other.
that's right.
And I think that's a big problem in the world today. We don't understand each other, that we're doing the same thing.
People
Doing the
always
same
say,
thing.
we got to stop war. We need more peace. We need more freedom. But it all starts with the people. There are so
Right.
many negative people that it's caused and created demons. It's caused and created fear and negativity.
Right.
But it doesn't bother us because we are part of the white light. And we
Right.
don't allow that negative or fear in our bubble, and we push it
Right.
aside and go, no, like, no. So I just feel like we're here to awaken people and give people a purpose, something to believe in. And
Right.
it's a really good feeling, really good feeling.
Right. Absolutely it is. It's when I was giving readings to people, it was fulfilling to a point. Um,
Yeah.
like I think more giving readings, and I don't know how you feel about when you give somebody reading, but it was more a point of understanding what my abilities were, rather
Mhm.
than helping somebody. Even though I was helping them in the process, that wasn't the reason why I tried to do that. At least the whole reason. Um,
Yeah.
do you feel like you're drawn to one thing or another? Um, like I work with the things that scare people, the darker stuff now. And that's why I transitioned from giving private readings to only doing um, readings when I'm at a location or working on a case or something like that. Do you feel like how do I word this question? This is a hard one. Do you feel like that each person's purpose is for a specific end to a bigger picture? It's like, you have a bunch of targets on the paper and you're all shooting at those targets, but the big picture is you're making an eyeball so everybody sees. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I slightly do. Um,
It's so hard to explain.
yeah, I feel like connecting with even the darker stuff versus just doing mediumship is the same to me. I
Right,
feel like as long as you set an intent and you're in the right mindset, but it's so hard to please people, you know?
right. I was always worried with working with the dark stuff that might come through when I'm
Yeah.
working in the light also. That's which is part of the reason why I quit giving readings, because it was spilling over. Me being more fulfilled working with the things that would scare somebody to help them, in a situation where they're terrified,
Yeah.
gave me
I
more
find,
fulfillment than connecting with grandma, grandpa,
yeah,
and
I
getting the
agree.
message.
Yeah, I totally get that because I've done investigations where I'm picking up a spirit that is an entity, and I've actually only worked with one entity, and I had no fear. I had no fear. I was like,
Right,
nope, because I'm meant to be here. This was a part of my chart. I'm here.
right,
I don't get night terrors. I don't get bad dreams like I used to. I
right.
actually connect with spirit in my sleep, and I actually give readings the next day, which is crazy. And there's times I'll wake up and be like, oh my God, I'll tell her in the morning. And then I'll contact the person and be like, is this person so? Yeah, how'd you know that? Oh, he woke me up last night. And
Right.
2 years ago, that was really bad. Like it was happening all the time where I had to learn how to turn off the switch and turn it on. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but actually, about 6 months ago, I had a dream where I was chasing this dark shadow and it was very negative and it didn't want me chasing it. And I'm like, I remember in my sleep, like tossing and turning and feeling fear. But something in me was like, no, I'm going to chase this. I'm not allowing my ego to allow this thing to think that I can't take it on.
Right,
When I woke up from that, it was probably about 4 a.m. and I felt like I was being pressed down into the bed and I couldn't breathe. And I started to kind of cry, like, oh my God, why did I just have that? Like,
yeah,
that's a lucky feeling. And I went to that location 2 months later, and I had a hard time going in that spot because in my dream, I was in that spot.
right,
And as I went up there, I felt that tight feeling. And I'm like, I can't be up here because I'm a sensitive. I can't, there's something saying, no, 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 you
right.
are not allowed up here.
Your guide's
So
warning you.
I went downstairs and Darlene and Troy saw, or Darlene was, yeah, Darlene was there. Troy's back was looking down at equipment and his buddy Brennan was there. Brennan and Darlene saw that black shadow exactly where I seen it in my dream. And they thought it was me. So when they told me this, I'm like, oh my God.
Well, let me
I,
ask you, um, do you feel like whether you work with the light or you work with the dark, that you need to have some ability in both? Like,
no.
in order for me to work with the dark, sometimes I have to ground myself in the light
Yeah.
so I can protect my stuff with the things that are not so nice.
There
Um,
are times that I
you
just
think,
want to be the investigator and not.
Right.
connect
Same
with
here.
it. And people go in going, oh, you're going to do a mediumship and investigate. Well,
Yeah.
sometimes I just go, no, the spirit is saying no, or this spirit's giggling over here going, this is great. And then I just get more of a kick out of it, lighting things up, doing things that you almost forget about being the medium in the moment because you're
Right.
excited.
Right.
Unless, you set that intent that you're going in as the medium, then I won't be the paranormal investigator. So,
I think you can do both,
yeah,
to
and I
be honest.
have. Um, I definitely have, especially at the opera house I did. And by the end of it, I ended up passing out on one of the chairs
Oh, wow.
because I was so drained. I'm like, there's this janitor up there and he's
Right.
driving me nuts right now. Like here I'm like, I got a live going on here. I got a live over here. Then I've got members here and I'm trying to like be the investigator, but I got a spirit that's draining my energy at the same time.
Right.
And then I had to kind of learn, like, oh, how do I do that? I brought a spirit back home, and that was the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah.
And I go to bed, and all of a sudden, my kitchen cupboards are just slamming, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And my husband goes, are you going to go down there and deal with that? And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. So I had to do that. Um, and then there's times I go to my sister's house. She's got a very haunted house, and we have a spirit friend that likes to be included into our conversations. And I'm
Right.
telling you,
I've
the
heard it
only time,
described.
like, yeah, the REM pod will go off when we're talking, or the spirit box, or we were watching this show on TV. It was like a Love is Blind or something. We're getting into it, and all of a sudden, the spirit box goes, "Oh yeah, isn't she something?" And we're like, "What the heck?"
Right.
Oh, that was so funny because we were laughing. So I can be the investigator and the medium in that scenario, because
Right.
I understand. But um I guess I'm more always focused on just being in the light and protecting my shield
Right.
because I think growing up my whole life I've had to protect myself. And I come from a really good family,
Mhm.
my dad's my best friend, but I suffered, you know, suicide stuff as a kid, like
Right.
because girls were so mean. And
Right.
I've always had to put a shield up to protect my own energy, where um, I've always struggled with that. So with spirit, I already know how to do that. I protect my energy, my
Right.
shield.
Right.
Where
And I think that you're best suited for the light. Like that's
yeah,
just you. If anybody ever watches you, which and I hope they do, because uh I'm just going to tell you guys, Sarah is an amazing person. So please go follow her groups on Facebook, follow her on TikTok, because she is a beautiful person inside and out, right? And I think that's you. That's where you're
yeah,
supposed to be. Where I may be over here and doing different things, you're
yeah,
supposed to be doing what you're doing. Like
yeah.
that is the entire purpose. Just like I found my purpose, it's on the dark side, but your purpose is definitely with the light. You're an
Some
amazing human being.
Thank you. I did a portal session a year ago, and I'm at my kitchen table. I got set up and I just asked for the light beams to come down. And the first word I heard, and I'm telling you, the shivers went through my bones, were the elders. I'm like, the elders. Oh my God, you gotta be kidding me. The elders. And I'm getting all excited, like,
Yeah.
oh, are the elders here? Like, holy cow. So I get all excited when I'm connecting with anything that has to do with, I think of a courthouse and I think of these judges as these light beings, and they're the elders. Then we got our ascendant masters, then we got our angels, then we got our guides. And I'm thinking, like, I've been at that stadium before. I've been there, like,
Right.
and I get all excited because I want to go back. That's where I want to be. I
Right.
want to be flying with the angels and being a
Right.
spirit guide to somebody one day, maybe a spirit guide to one of my enemies here in this lifetime that struggled.
I've said that myself, that I hope when I come back I want to come back as a spirit guide.
Yeah.
After this life. But I want to do it with I think I'm preparing now for kind of what is in the future, be a spirit guide for somebody who works with what I do now. So I hope that I'm pretty sure we can make that happen.
You and I will be fist pumping like, hey man, we did
right,
this.
What's up, Sarah? How you doing? You know what I mean? But it's I don't know, you're just so well suited for light work that just watch 2 minutes of what you do and you can tell that that's what you're suited for. Now, I do the investigator thing too, and I use my mediumship to kind of pinpoint and get a feeling, but I get excited like you do when something's happening over the portal box, or your SB7 is coming through, you're getting EVPs or stuff like that. I get excited because now other people see what I hear, what I see, you know what I mean?
The proof is right there. The adrenaline kicks in, and it's
the confirmation. It's the confirmation that I'm not crazy and I'm not just making this up. You all can hear the same things that I've been hearing the whole time.
We did a function in our, an hour from where I am. It's called Bracebridge, Ontario, and it's at a haunted library. And I have some videos on TikTok or Facebook about it. And my buddy Troy from Beyond the Veil, Paranormal, he was the host for the night and had his poster up and said, hey, Sarah, like, hey, Darlene, do you guys want to come pick a room, because we've investigated this place and we're going to have the public come in and you're going to be the investigator at your own table in your own spot. You can be your own medium. You can do whatever you want. I took the kids' library because I felt more drawn to, I'm going to go in there because it's very positive, and I get a good feeling from that area. So here I'm setting up the cat balls. I got the REM pod. I got the music box. Every time I spoke to spirit, the lights would just go on and off, and everything was happening. And I'm like, way to go. Like, I'm cheerleading for spirit.
You're
like,
doing it. Yeah.
Good job. No, the public's coming in. You're going to do awesome. Then I got the portal cranked up. They're walking in. Some people got so terrified that they left. And I'm just like, this is why I love this work. Like, this is great.
They get to see the fruits of our labor.
Exactly. So every time I went back there, these two names would come in. And the one name that I do remember his name was Dean. I couldn't tell if he was a dean of some sort or if his name was Dean.
Okay.
But it'd be, oh, Dean's back, or, oh, the other one was Adam and Dean. So I'm a huge debunker, and I'm telling you, I don't get those names anywhere else but there. And I've been there 3 times, got those. And I'm like, oh, see, like, this is great. I believe, because I'm a skeptic believer.
Right. Same.
So, yeah. So I get feeling great about that. So anyways, there's groups that come in 10 minutes at a time. And I'm telling you, I don't even know how I memorized half the stuff that I said. And I'm just like, go, 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 go. Okay, these are dowsing rods. This is what this does. This is the spirit box. Okay, spirit, can you light up that ball over there? The ball would just start lighting up like every time. I'm like, spirit, can you tell me what colors I'm holding in my hands? Blue, green, pink, red. The audience is like, oh my God. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, music's on, switch. And then it would be like all night. But every time I did it, I was like spirit's biggest cheerleader, where I was like, I'm cheering you on tonight. You're doing incredible. Right. And I have awesome. So much fun, because it's like I'm showing validation and proof. And everyone that showed up was over 65.
Really?
The elder loved it. The seniors were like blown away. Like, the oldest lady there was 90, and I think she was a psychic medium. And she's like, here's my card. Like, this is phenomenal. And we did this twice. And we have more coming this spring. And I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, oh my God, like, these guys are getting a kick out of it.
That's amazing, actually. Because the age group, like 65 and above, like that, those are like I guess they call them the boomers or whatever.
Yeah.
This isn't something that they would typically like. You don't see them
Yeah.
engaging and stuff like this. So bringing them in and getting them excited about, holy crap, maybe there is something to this. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
they would question you. They'd look around. They'd be like, "Where's the
Right.
switch? Where's the remote?"
Right.
And I would let them try it out, test out. And I said, "Listen, talk out loud, you know." And sometimes people's loved ones were coming through, and they're like, "Oh my gosh!" Or I'd say, "Use your ability, and if you feel or hear any names by the end of the night, I want you to say them." There were a couple people that picked up on a couple names for the audience by the end of the night when we stopped and didn't realize that they were a medium. So it was like
Wow.
everybody just come in and be intuitive and be open and understand spirit. And
Right.
yeah, it's just incredible to do that. So I'm hoping I can do that at my local Legion. I'd like to open up a paranormal night for my hometown and
That would be
raise
awesome.
money for the veterans and
Awesome.
give back. So that's what
That's
I've talked to them about it and I'd really like to do it. So
that's
yeah.
that's that's really awesome. I would love to see you do it, to be honest with you. Not only is our veterans a good cause, but getting
Yeah.
people to feel comfortable with the paranormal. Um,
Yeah.
not everybody is going to want to investigate like we do, but just exposing that to them, I think that's a great cause. So they understand, especially those that are later in their years, understand that, the next step isn't so scary.
Yeah. You
That's
know,
that's one thing.
I did a vendor show. So basically you set up tables. There's other vendor markets that bring their items that they sell, like homemade things. And we did one on in Rama on a native ground, the Black River Water Campground. And it is so gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Set up the paranormal. Well, everybody that was there was very spiritual and very into it and loved it. And I'm telling you, I had a cat ball set up on my table the whole time and it wouldn't stop the whole freaking
Right.
time. I remember videotaping going, these grounds hold a lot of energy and you can feel it. You can smell the sage in the air. There's teepees everywhere. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, I
Right.
love it. And you hear the stories, the culture, like, it's so just vibrant. And
Right.
this, I love it. And half the people that came to my table go, oh, yeah, we play Ouija board at home with our kids all the time. And I'm like, really?
Oh,
They're like, oh, yeah, telling me all these stories. And I'm like,
right.
freaking right. Like, that's
Right.
great.
That's awesome. Getting people exposed to it and understanding it is a great thing to
Yeah,
do. I've got two quick questions that I want to ask you because I know you're busy, you're a mom,
sure.
you've got a lot of life going on right now. But I've got one for either the paranormal investigator of you and the
Okay.
mediumship of you. If somebody is feeling like they are having these experiences where they think that they might be psychic or have some mediumship abilities, what would be your advice to them on how to further get into that to maybe understand it?
To stay in a positive mindset, meditation is key.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard for people to meditate. And I always say, if you can't meditate, then put on a guided meditation when you're going to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Practice with the energy ball, the blue energy ball. You can form an energy, close your eyes, focus on the energy around you. Everything has energy. Um, and be open, be positive. And the biggest thing that Spirit has told me is when you're doing this kind of work, you have to love and love your enemies. You have to forgive.
Mm,
Forgive is the biggest thing. Um,
right. That's that
to
shadow
stay,
work.
yes, and to stay focused, stay true to yourself. With this kind of work, I found for me, it took me to love myself first.
Right.
I had to learn how to love myself so I could love others. I had to forgive myself to forgive others. Then Spirit
Absolutely.
said, I think you're ready. And,
Absolutely.
I connect with spirit the most if I have a nice hot bubble bath, or if I'm in the shower. I call a meditative shower. You washing your day away, just meditate, cleanse. It's coming from the earth. Just feel one with yourself, one with the universe. Ground, put your feet in the sand, put your feet in the grass, feel
Definitely.
it. Yeah.
Definitely. Now, just a quick follow-up with that. Would you advise somebody to find somebody that is reputable that they feel like they connect with to maybe answer some questions?
Yeah.
Like if somebody was questioning that and they felt like they had a connection with you where they could trust you, would you say ask those questions to somebody who's been through it to help you?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, you know, my biggest person that I think I really connected with was Tyler Henry, Monica the medium. I I do a lot of research. I've always done research to understand my abilities. I was always drawn to a good
Right.
book. Um, find someone that you feel comfortable with, that you can practice on, that you don't know. Ask a stranger and just say, hey, like, I'm trying
Oh,
to learn how to open my abilities, can I practice on you? But for me, pen and paper, just write things down, right?
right.
Even if it's the word soap, or maybe there's a meaning to that. So
Right.
um
Now I always tell people, look, if you have a question, I have limited time, so I can only do so much because I'm only one person. But if you have a question, ask me. If I don't know, I
yeah.
know a bunch of great mediums that I could point you to.
Mhm.
Ask them, say, hey, can you help me answer this question?
That's right.
There's a lot of us that are friends that can answer questions. So um, if you have a question, just ask. If I haven't experienced that,
That's right.
I probably know somebody that has. You know what I mean? Because I
Yeah,
always answer
that's right.
questions based on my experience. So, if somebody were to ask something of me and I had not had that experience, I would come to you. So I always tell people, look, find somebody you're comfortable with, that you connect with on some level.
Yeah,
And if you have a question while you're exploring that, because I think mediumship has a lot of personal issue there, where it's a lot of personal stuff that you have to work on. But if you have questions about something that you're getting or you don't understand, ask. Ask some of us. Ask
that's
Sarah,
right.
ask me, because between the two of us,
It
we've
helps.
probably had that experience or had that question before, and we've done the work to answer it, and we can help guide you in that direction.
It's so funny. I saw a picture on Facebook today, and it was a dog getting hit by a frisbee, and it said, I asked my spirit guides if I'm ready to do the work, and the spirit guide said, challenge accepted, and threw the
Right.
frisbee at the dog's face.
Right.
When you're going into mediumship, or um, going in to do anything that has to do with spirituality, it comes with a roller coaster ride. So, if you're having ups and
Absolutely.
downs and challenges in your life where you're like, oh, my marriage isn't working out. Why all of a sudden? Why? Well, you asked for the help.
Right.
If you ask even your angels or your guides for help, they're going to help you, and you're not going to like the challenges. And when becoming a medium, you're going to have a lot of questions,
Yeah,
a lot
it's
of
gonna open
concern,
your eyes
pros,
to a lot of
cons.
stuff. Yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely
And
does.
it's challenging. You're going to lose friends. You're going to lose friends because you're going to go, I have no space for you in my life right now because I'm doing a different type of work and I
Oh, different
feel
journey.
okay with it.
Right.
And that's okay. I had a best friend of 16 years, and I love her. I miss her so much. We hit a rocky road about 8 years ago when my spirituality really hit the fan, where challenges were really happening. My family and I weren't getting along. I was feeling so alone. I lost her, and I look back and go, how silly. How silly was that? And that was just part of my growing, of becoming who I am today. You're going
Right.
to lose people, but I forgive. I spiritually forgive the people who have hurt me.
Right.
And I'm okay to not have them in my life. So,
Right. A big thing for me was to forgive myself.
yeah,
That
that's
was a
right.
hard thing for me to forgive myself of the things I'd done in my life,
Yeah.
which I think is a big part of it. Because we have time constraints, the last question I want to ask you, because I could sit here and talk to you for 10 hours straight and we would have a
Yeah, me
great
too.
conversation, you know?
We'll have to do a part 2 soon.
We definitely, I will get you back on the show.
Okay.
I've said that to several people, but I really, you know, the way you work and the things that we've done together, it has been so compatible, and I've enjoyed it such a great
We
deal.
cross paths for a reason.
Right. And I definitely want to get you back on the podcast in the future. Hopefully
Sure.
you aren't too busy and you can get with me, because you've got a lot going in your life. But the last question I want to ask you is on the investigator side. Um, how would you what advice would you give somebody who wants to be serious in paranormal investigation, not just go have an experience or go ghost hunting? What would you say to somebody that says, look, I want to explore this more? How would I do that?
My biggest thing is you cannot have fear. Don't allow your ego to get in the way. Set a good intention. Be careful with, you know, the certain tools that you buy. Do your research first.
Right.
When you do have a spirit box or a pair of dowsing rods, if people like them, sometimes people are like, but I love them personally, or a Ouija board or anything, you are opening a portal.
Right.
So if you don't know how to close the door, do not open it, and
Definitely.
be very serious and have the love in the work, because you have to deal with earthbounds entities. You're going to deal with spirit that are stuck, and you're going to have to understand that not every spirit wants to be crossed over, and we are not meant to cross every spirit over, because
Right.
it's not meant for us to do.
Right. Right. I think when they need help, they'll let you know,
I'll let you know.
and you can help those, but not everybody wants to. Some of them are fine being here.
Like, I am not crossing over Ted Bundy. Screw that. Like, you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
If they're bad spirits, they're saying, help
Just
me.
because you can doesn't mean you should.
That's right. We
Right.
aren't
Right.
meant to. But yeah, you have to go in with a good intention and a lot of love, a lot of love.
Right.
And you have to be careful with that too, because spirit can go home with you. Um,
How'd
you
that
have
happen?
you have to know how to send a spirit back. You know, you have to know how to talk to a spirit, have the right questions for spirit, how to understand spirit.
Right.
And my biggest thing is, and I've actually run into problems with this with people before, is I always say you have to give respect.
Def
I don't like going on investigations or seeing people go, come on out here, come punch me in the face. Oh, you
Right.
think you're tough? Like,
Provocation.
I don't like that. And I'm just like, no, like, what
Right.
spirit is going to respect you or want to, you know, work with you and the tools that you have, if you're just going to poke the bear? So
Right.
I say go with love and respect.
Right. And not to say that provocation doesn't have its place,
Yeah,
but the majority of the time, provocation is not the way. It's
that's
not going
right.
to help you. It's only going to hinder you. Um, well, Saraa, I thank you so much for coming on and being on the show. I can't wait to be on your show. What is it, Friday? We're going to be
uh
on
yep.
Facebook.
Or Saturday.
Is it Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay. So make sure you go over and check out Keeping Up with Spirits on Facebook. Find Saraa, and because I'm going to be on her show this week. I can't wait to be on. I can't wait to hear what you're going to ask me. But I watched the live where you had my sister Luna on, where it was you and your sister and her. Um, I thought it was a really good interview.
It
You
was
know what I mean?
great.
Like,
It was I
so
had so many compliments on that. Like,
right. Yeah, it was. I didn't get to see it live, so I watched it after the fact, because I was in the middle of, life, kids and stuff.
of course.
I watched it after the fact, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So I'm excited to be on and see what happens for us and what kind of things you ask us. So But thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. If you're not following Saraa, you need to. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You would be silly not to. She does great work. She is a beautiful person inside and out. I can tell you that from experience because I know Saraa. I know her. So please go follow her. Come watch our show this week. Get into her groups. Find that show. It's going to be coming on, right?
Yeah.
I'm cheering for you. I really am. I'm cheering for because you're doing great things. And I really respect a lot of the things you're doing because they come from a place of love. And I really appreciate what you do. And I appreciate what you've done for me.
Thank you.
You're giving.
Well, same with you.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. So if you're not following her, go follow her. If you guys will give me one more minute of your time and listen to the outro, it'll tell you how to get a hold of me and where you can get a hold of us on all of our social media with Paranormal Unveiling, Paranormal Science Investigators team. So just give me one more minute of your time, and that's all I ask. Thank you so much, Saraa, for coming. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, Josh.
All right. I love you.
Love you too.
All right. Thank you for listening to the show. And remember, we want to hear from you. Do you have questions about the paranormal, about mediumship? Do you have a story of an experience you just can't explain? Well, do us a favor. Email us at paranormalscienceinvestigators@gmail.com. And your question or story may end up on the show. And if you'd like to see our video content, you can check us out on YouTube at paranormal_investigators or on TikTok with the same name. Or if you'd like to do Instagram, it's Josh_paranormal_investigators. Come check out our video content of actual paranormal investigations and our everyday content. Just look for the yellow PSI logo. Thank you again. We'll see you on the next episode. Love y'all. Bye-bye.